I cleaned the glass and found some nice dry wood, and I just want to show you folks what my wood stove is capable of. It's the most awkward time of the year. How you doing, folks? Today is Friday, and it's the Friday after Thanksgiving. And I just wanted to kind of explain that little verse I sang for you there. I always find the day after Thanksgiving to be the most awkward day of the year, besides possibly Christmas afternoon, because I never know what to do today. Back when the business was busier, you know, I try to find a job, like a job I could finish before Thanksgiving easily, and there was one house for like 5 to 8 years. I'd go to the same house every year right before Thanksgiving and basically cut back the gardens. And it was one of those houses, you know, I'd only visit a couple times a year. And I'd get there and the homeowner, my client, would literally blow their leaves into the gardens, and then, you know, I'd show up to cut back the perennials and clean the leaves up out of the gardens. And it just was a very stressful time. And I stopped working at that house maybe 6 years ago or so. At some point, I try to be polite and say, you know, we really need to do more than a spring mulch and a fall cutback. But you just know, you know, people that have been doing this long enough know that you can't always make people see the light. And honestly, it's not my job to make people see the light. It's my job to do what people tell me, you know, and then decide if that's really what I want to do. But for that one, I basically politely said, you know, we really need to do, well, the email I sent said something effective, I'm having trouble getting motivated, which is probably the wrong thing to say to a client. And then followed that with, we really need to do more service, which was returned with, please send us an invoice for your time and we'll find somebody else. Thank you very much. And I said, you know, no worries. It's, you know, apologies for the inconvenience. I try to go out on a good note, but in a service business, you're always serving, and if you're not serving, people don't like that. So just keep that in mind, and service with a smile. So I think I took a tangent on that one, but I would do a smaller job earlier in the week. You get the house cleaned, Thanksgiving happens, you're focused on, you know, being polite and making conversation with others on Thanksgiving Day. And then the Friday after Thanksgiving comes and your tummy's full, you're exhausted from the week, and you're trying to find a one-day job. And then on a day like today, you would call ahead to get permission to work at somebody's house, and then you'd wake up and be raining and you couldn't go anyways. So I don't have the answer, but just, it's life. It's always been awkward to me as well, because I know a lot of people that work for like the school system or government employees have the day off. Didn't say everybody, I said a lot. And a lot of corporate people have like a half day, and in the small business world, a half day makes very little sense, because as a small business person, your goal is to get things done, not to find a way to work the minimum number of hours. I don't know if that made sense, but I fear I'm getting on a tangent, so let's keep moving forward. So maybe what we'll do is we'll feed the birds a bit, and then go over a few things around the yard. But you guys have pretty much seen this, so maybe we'll come back once we feed the birds. One of the things I did want to talk about was you hear that? See that woodpecker? 2 woodpeckers? I'm actually a little bit late. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I don't think it's appreciated at all. But I did get out and do half of the fall cleanup yesterday, and we'll talk about that, but just notice how nice and neat everything's looking. All right, everybody's fed, and it's been so long. See the chickadee there? It's been so long that they may actually come on over here. See, there's the chickadee again. Like I was saying, I did get out yesterday, and I went through 3 tanks of gas on the leaf blower, and it's not any better. If you guys saw my video about stop multitasking, you can review that, but I talked about how I've been trying to juggle too much stuff. And another thing I missed out on with that was I haven't done my leaves in like 3 weeks. I kept up with them pretty well, and then the sugar maples pretty much slowed down, so I slowed down with everything. So when I got to them yesterday, basically they were heavy, they were wet, and there were a lot of them, but it wasn't excessive. More, they were just heavy and wet. So if you're doing your leaf cleanup with the blower and mulching them, there's a video I put up maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago about, the best thing you can do is try to do your leaves weekly, blow them out of the beds. Doesn't have to be perfect. Blow them out of the beds, get them on the lawn, and then just run the mower over them weekly and keep up with that so it doesn't become too much of a hassle. You don't have to get rid of them. It's good for the lawn, for the nutrients to go in there, and it's actually fun if you keep up with them, if you have time to do it that way. And we'll just do a quick kind of pan here, and I'm very happy. I basically did this side of the house, and then I started around 11. I came back in and had lunch. I came back in and took a break, but I think I went through 3 tanks of gas in my leaf blower, and then it took a while to shred as well. And I guess I should explain why I was doing leaves on Thanksgiving Day. And it turns out my wife, came down with something, so we just, with everything going on, we just decided it'd be better to postpone Thanksgiving till later. So we just canceled it. So we basically just woke up, and it was almost, except for my wife, of course, it was almost the best day ever because the house was clean. Everything was ready to go. We just hadn't started cooking anything yet, so it was just a nice quiet day when the world was closed. Which leads me to another story I want to share. Is up until my parents moved into a condo, which was sometime in college, I don't remember exactly. What I used to do is I would actually hold off on doing my leaf cleanup until Thanksgiving Day, because Thanksgiving morning was always awkward to me as well, because I never really knew what to do with myself. Mom was always cooking. Dad was probably watching some kind of football game, possibly with Lawrence Taylor in it. And I never really knew what to do with myself. So by doing the leaves, I kind of put them off just for the sole purpose of giving myself something to do that morning. If that makes any sense. And then we would do the Thanksgiving meal around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. The wind is just coming out of nowhere. I hope the audio is okay on this one. The day after Thanksgiving, and the flowering cabbage is perfectly fine. It's been through several hard frosts. It must have been down to the mid, if not the low 20s. I've seen squirrels in here the last 2 days burying the peanuts. So I guess it's working for the squirrels too. When I did the leaf cleanup yesterday, I can't underestimate the amount of debris that comes off of this dawn redwood. I mean, it was pretty thick, and I just did my best to blow it out of the bed, get it on the lawn, and run it over. And then what I would do is, once I got it shredded quite a bit, I came back with the blower and blew it around some more and gave it a second shot. Here's the front yard, and I think it looks pretty good. We haven't talked about this yet, but these are actually Cornell pink rhododendron. I've always admired them. They're very early to bloom. They're the first rhododendron to bloom in the spring. Bright pink flowers. I'm not really sure they're going to work. The color's going to work for my old house, but I love early season and late season blooms. So we're giving Cornell pink a try. Come back in season and see how they do. And then sooner than later, I do need to get out and prune my PeeGee hydrangea. And I mentioned this in another video, but what I did last winter was I just came in and I cut them all back. This is probably about 7 feet off the ground, and this one here is probably about 8 feet off the ground. But I just got tired of climbing on the ladder, and I wanted to make them shorter. So I shortened them up a bit. They threw a ton of growth near the base, which I had to take off. It's called suckers. But I mean, I think they look great. And I mean, these are still some pretty massive flowers. You know, looking really nice. The Montauk Daisies, you know, for whatever reason, they really got whacked pretty hard by the frost. So they were looking beautiful, but as soon as we got that first frost, this is what happened. And then I wanted to show you this over here, and I'm pretty sure, but I can't be 100% sure, that this is a Dorothy Wyckoff Andromeda. So these are the flowers for next year, but here we are late November, and this one is kind of in a tough spot. You know, it's underneath the Katsura, so I think it really wants a little bit more sun. But I mean, you're going to have this all through the winter. These nice red flowers, and then in the early spring, late winter, probably like a late April thing around here. You know, they'll open up, and quite often with Andromeda, they flower so early that they end up getting hit by frost, and the flowers don't persist. I literally blew this area completely off less than 24 hours ago, and the Stewartia is starting to drop its leaves. Stewartia is one of those plants that needs a really heavy frost to kind of knock the leaves down. We'll just take a moment to appreciate this amazing exfoliating bark. So then on this side of the house, I did blow all the leaves out, but I didn't get a chance to shred them yet. So hopefully there's going to be a decent day, you know, hopefully we get a couple dry days to dry out what's here, and then I can go ahead and shred them. You really want to avoid shredding leaves when they're this wet, because they don't really shred, they just turn into this kind of pastiness. They don't spread around very well. So I won't even consider taking a mower out and driving over these piles. I think there's a cold front coming in. You know, my hands were starting to get a little bit numb, and the wind was starting to kick up. So I think we're done with the rain, and usually here in Connecticut, if we get some rain, quite often it's when there's a front coming through, and I think this is going to be a cold one, unfortunately. I did just want to take a minute and thank everybody who watched the videos yesterday, and thank you for your kind words. It was difficult for me to decide, you know, whether I wanted to start spreading the message and some of these other messages I want to share. And I do just want to take the time to thank you folks for saying positive words, and at the very least for not saying negative words. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I've tried very hard not to allow negativity to fester on this channel, especially in the comments. If I see a comment where somebody quite often is looking to tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, or worse, I will just block them. There's no sense on being around that, which was pretty much the point of those comments, those videos yesterday. But again, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your support, your understanding, and accepting me for exactly who I am. So without getting too weird again, I'm going to say thanks a lot for watching today, folks, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.